Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Tristan Rallings, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Commander Phil Andrews. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families who love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors to the memorial. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of the more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations over more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Wallace Lanvel Eccleston. Wallace Eccleston was born on the 13th of November 1919 in Adaminaby, New South Wales, the son of Arthur and Amelia Eccleston. As a young man, Wallace moved to Wagga Wagga, where he worked as a labourer. In July 1940, Eccleston volunteered for service in the 2nd Australian Imperial Force. He undertook his initial training at the Wagga Wagga Showgrounds before moving to Goulburn to continue training. His older brother Henry was also training at Goulburn at this time. They both had a short period of leave over Christmas and then sailed from Sydney to the Middle East in February 1941. Eccleston joined his unit, the 2nd 17th Australian Infantry Battalion, on April 1941. The unit was in the process of digging in at the Libyan port city of Tobruk. German and Italian forces laid siege to Tobruk, a situation that lasted for over 8 months. Eccleston's brother, Henry, had also joined the 2nd 17th Battalion, and the two men were together during the siege. In October, having successfully defended the city, the Australians were relieved by the 70th British Division. Eccleston spent a period in hospital recovering from his illness in December and then returned to his unit. The 2nd 17th Battalion carried out guard duties and training in Palestine, Lebanon and Syria during the first half of 1942. In July, the battalion travelled to Alexandria, Egypt, and from there deployed west of the city in readiness for the showdown with the Axis forces. The British-led Allies had been forced to withdraw from Libya due to the advance of the Axis forces. From the middle of 1942, they defended a line between the Mediterranean Sea in the north and the impassable Qattara Depression in the desert to the south. Allied units took up positions around the tiny desert locality of El Alamein. The 9th Australian Division, of which the 2nd 17th Battalion was a member, was on the right flank of the Allied position on the coast. In September, Eccleston was evacuated to hospital again, this time with hepatitis. He recovered over a period of 4 weeks and rejoined his battalion on the 23rd of October. That night, at about 10 p.m, the Allies attacked, beginning the Battle of El Alamein. The battle was to continue for 2 weeks. During the fighting on the 30th of October 1942, Eccleston was struck in the head by gunfire and died of his wounds later that day. He was 22 years old. Wallace Eccleston is buried at Alexandria, Hadra War Memorial Cemetery in Egypt, alongside more than 1,300 burials of the Second World War. His gravestone reads, "Bravely, he did his duty." Wallace's older brother Henry was also wounded in the Battle of El Alamein. He had died of wounds 3 days before his brother's death and is buried in the same cemetery as his brother. Private Wallace Lanvel Eccleston's name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, among almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. A photograph of his headstone is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Wallace Lanvel Eccleston, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. lest we forget.
We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.